I'm Up and Loaded, Choking Hazard Podcast, sponsored by, well, we can't, there's one sponsor that we're working on that we can't officially announce yet, but that will be a big one coming soon. But we're officially sponsored by these guys right here, Project X-Guard. It's a non-profit in the GTA run by Raul Chavez from Gringo BJJ, who is helping out some at-risk youth with the love and power of jiu-jitsu. So give these guys check them out on Instagram, and I believe we're giving away some merch. Is that correct, Aaron?
Well, we just had our first giveaway, so that's already done and over with for everybody, but definitely we'll be doing more giveaways as we have more products and merchandise available. So definitely down in the future we will.
We're also sponsored by CanadianProtein.com. If you're looking for your gains and you want to, weigh more than 145 pounds like Aaron, you need to go on CanadianProtein.com. Use promo code CHOKE. Get yourself 10% off. You get to help out the Choking Hazard podcast. We're also sponsored by Guinness, apparently. Would you like to?
No. Today we are drinking Gray Matter out in Kincardine.
How much are they paying us for this podcast?
They're nothing at all.
Then fuck them. They don't get an ad read. CanadianProtein.com, promo code CHOKE. Get yourself 10% off as Aaron is highly professional drinking a beer right now.
Hey, they don't see me. They only see me when I'm talking, right? They only see you when you're talking. So it works out. So we're good.
You're covering up your alcoholism.
No, it's not alcoholism. It's just have a drink every once in a while and it's okay. Right? That's the whole point. You stay fit, you're able to do a bunch of different things, and you're able to have a beer once in a while, and you don't have to worry about the recurring damages after.
I don't even remember the last beer I've had, honestly.
I think the last time I saw you have a drink, I think was, Christmas last year at Jason's.
I think that might have been it.
Or was it American Thanksgiving? Is that what he did?
It was something, and I think that might have been the last time I may have had a beer. I don't think I've had a beer. I may have had like a sip or two. Like actually finished a beer, like was probably like over a year ago.
Oh yeah, no, I've as I was telling you
before, last time you finished a beer was an hour ago. Oh, sorry, I interrupted. I shouldn't have done that.
I started drinking gin. So I'm trying out gin lately. So that's my new thing.
You're Snoop Dogg all of a sudden?
No, I've always wanted to try Ryan Reynolds Aviation Gin. And then I ended up getting a bottle from my
Hold on a second. Yes. Now, are they a sponsor of the podcast?
No, they're not.
Then fuck them. They're not getting a plug. Pay me.
It's good gin.
Pay me.
So anyways, I enjoyed it very much. So I thought that was a good one. So I'm trying to expand my palate, as they say, in different realms
of gin,
beer, all sorts of stuff. So, but that's it. So, Michael, I know there's a couple of things we wanted to talk about today. We wanted to talk about the fight that happened over the weekend. We wanted to kind of deep dive into obviously the fitness industry a little bit because of obviously with shutdowns and obviously Quebec is, I don't know if you saw the article, they were planning on expanding the shutdowns for another 4 weeks in Quebec. And now apparently like 200 gyms are protesting and they're going to open up on October 28th, 9th anyways. So I'm curious to see where that kind of goes, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. Obviously, I wanted to get your take on the John Jones versus Khabib for pound debate, because John Jones went on a Twitter rant yesterday. First, it started very professionally, and then it went a little off the rails. So I kind of want to get your perspective on that. So we'll kind of jump all over the place. But did you watch the fight on the weekend?
I did watch the fight. Khabib looked very, very dominant once the match hit the ground. Well, I think we've established MMA is a fight. Jiu-jitsu is we're pajama wrestling. It's not really considered a fight. I think we've established that already. But once Khabib secured a takedown, he was very clinical on the ground. It was takedown, side smash to mount, mount to S mount to triangle to Gaethje tapping and the ref not stopping the fight, and then him going unconscious.
No, I thought it was really a good strategy. I think when you looked at it, for sure, like Khabib was he was determined not to lose that fight. I think just the way if you looked at he looked nervous at the first little bit, but you could just see him walking Gaethje down right off the top. And it was like they felt each other out for the first like 2 minutes. And then it was put Gaethje on his heels and don't let him establish any sort of range and just go after him.
You just walked him down after like the first 2 minutes until you eventually got a hold of him in the second round, dragged him to the ground, and then, well, it was all downhill from there. I think Khabib's ground game is downright amazing especially at lightweight. There's nobody that can really stop him from taking him down and just asserting dominance.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that transitions, especially like him timing the second leg kick that happened, going for that single leg, and just turning the corner on him. And then just obviously Gaethje kind of not panic, but I guess he just lost his footing. And then Khabib was just able to take his back, no problem, transition right into mount, to S mount. And he had that arm locked up right behind the armpit, just where they pinch it in, especially on that far arm. And I was like, because again, he could have sat back on that, that arm and armpit arm bar and S mount and just snapped it in half right there if he wanted to. But I think that transition into that triangle was really smooth because then you're locking it up for sure. You're not going to lose that position. And then it was just that tighten it up, it underneath, really hook in. And I think he saw the tap too, but he's like, I'm not letting go until the ref says no.
Pulls you off. That's one of his. I think that's one of his more popular finishes. Is like if he gets to mount, he will actually look for the triangle. From what I've seen in earlier matches, like pre-UFC, that is like something that he does look for. So I wasn't too surprised that he went for like a triangle from that transition. But once he had like that arm set, he threw the leg over, isolated the arm, and it was all downhill from there.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. I was glad I was able to see it. Seeing a guy like that, obviously from what he went through with his father passing away, I think he's making the right as long as he's happy with his decision and he's going to walk away from the sport. I think you can walk away and say, hey, it's unblemished. I feel good about it and go from there. Right. I know he's not getting the GSP fight that he wanted.
No,
but I think is
it a fight that really needs to happen right now? Like, I know it's probably an unpopular opinion, but like, I know GSP's had a lot of fights. Like, I think he should stay retired. I think if Khabib wants to retire and he's just like, you know what, I have nothing to prove, then, I think there's a lot more people in MMA, I think, that need to know sometimes when to walk away, when sometimes they walk away too late. I don't know. I've never fought MMA, so I can't ever say, like, unlike you, like who you knew when to walk away, Aaron. You had your 1-0. You went out on top in the lifetime pool.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Went away undefeated.
Undefeated. I figured not ruin that unblemished record, right? But no, and I think that's a good point, right? Like, guys need, especially like as they're learning more and more nowadays, especially about head trauma and all the other stuff, and how much life. Again, he's got so many opportunities available to him, right? Where I was listening to an interview from GSP. And he was saying, he's like, right now, like, guy's on top of the world. He's got all these opportunities and doors are going to open for him because he's undefeated, like whether it's a movie deal, sponsorship deals, whatever. He's at the top of the world, right? And he has so many different ways he could go about his next step in his life. It's amazing, right? Whereas if, he sticks around and he loses or he starts to get in a losing streak and now he leaves too late, you know what I mean? And so like all those opportunities might close. So now he could go open up a school and like, who wouldn't want to join a Khabib school right now, right? If he wanted to, he could have a amazing sponsorship. He could work for the UFC. Like there's so many different opportunities now that have opened up just walking out on top.
Yeah, he can pretty much do what he wants at this point, honestly. Like, I don't even think he needs to open a school. Like he has, I think he has a lot of money stashed away. So I think he's set. He can basically do what he wants, and he he's walking away at the top of the sport. Most people don't do that. Most people, I think, they stay too late and they take a lot of damage, and they're not the same after, like, they stay a couple. I think the more you fight in MMA, like, the less upside there is almost. So, like, the more damage you can potentially take that's irreversible. So you got to know, like, sometimes, like, when to, it's like in Vegas, you got to know when you're ahead, you got to quit when you're ahead versus staying too long and losing back the what you've gained in the sport.
Yeah. And I think Gaethje said it perfectly. He's like, you know what? I got put to sleep. I didn't get knocked out. So there's no damage right now. I can get back in there in a couple of weeks, no problem. It'll be fine. Whereas if he were to get knocked out, then he's going to be out for at least 3 months on concussion protocols and God knows what else, right? So, and you chip away at that time clock, as I say, the punch card. There's one extra punch in it that's gone. So he got put out, but he's okay. So I think that's a good thing. And I think, like, Gaethje even said, he's like, I got 5 more wars in me, right? And he didn't really consider that a war. So that's good. So
I think he even knows, like, his shelf life as well, which is smart. I think there's only so many times you can get punched in the head. So I think you have to know when to pack. But I think that's also a big issue. It's some people, they need to keep fighting because I don't know if they need the money or they don't know when to walk away from it. And there's a lot of cases of people that just, they're like the post MMA world is not as good to them as, like, let's say, like GSP who came back, won the middleweight title and then retired. I think he had some health issues as well, but then decided to retire again. And I've also heard, like, a lot of people that train with him, like, he's been in a lot of wars as well. And
yeah,
like, once again, head trauma, memory problems. Like, is that something that, is it worth for him to come back for, one more fight, one more payday to potentially, make matters worse? Or do you stay, or do you go, you know what, I'm good. I don't need to fight Khabib. I don't need to fight anybody else. I don't need to add to my legacy. Cause he's another person who, there's nothing to prove for him. Khabib doesn't really have anything to prove at 155 right now. Like, he's number 1 with a bullet. Now, is he number 1 pound for pound all time? I think that's the next debate. I may have an unpopular opinion on this. I don't think he's number 1 all time, in my opinion. If you take the pound for pound rankings, the way I see them, you take the skills of everybody and put them into, like, some dude's body and everybody weighs the same, and who wins that fight? Who would you have number 1 pound for pound all time right now?
Like, currently, like, with active fighters?
When you say active or, like, all time?
I think
you can say that. We can do, like, 2 debates. So we can do that one, like, kind of like the pound for pound, like, skill one. And then we can do, like, accomplishments. Because I think accomplishment wise, like, Khabib's accomplished a lot, but also there's people who have accomplished a lot more. They've won, titles in 2 different weight classes.
Sure.
And things like that.
Okay. So I look at it in, like, 2 parts. Okay. So, like, we'll talk about, like, accomplishments, right? And let's just say active and non-active individuals. This is me personally. I think when you look at a guy like GSP, right, where the guy has how many title defenses? Like 12 to 13 title defenses that I think he did at 170 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. He had a bunch of decisions and he walked away from the sport, came back, won the middleweight championship, and then retired, right? And every loss that he has on his record, he's avenged, right? So his loss to Matt Hughes and his loss to Matt Serra, he completely different fighter. Second time he had to fight them and beat them again, right? So if you look at, like, a guy for a pound for pound ranking, I think especially for achieving 2 titles and obviously like kind of leaving that. I think that's like an individual you look at it as like a skill and say that could be like a greatest of all time achievement, right? Obviously with Khabib, 29-0 is remarkable, right? But like also he got 13 wins in the octagon and 3 title defenses, right? That's the only thing I would say a knock against Khabib is he doesn't have a lot of title defenses at lightweight. Whereas some of these other guys have these like multiple title defenses or they've won that.
Yeah. Somebody like GSP who won the title like at like 24, 25, and then he was basically defending it for years versus it took Khabib a while to get to a title fight position because also at the same time, he wasn't like the first couple fights that he had in the UFC, he wasn't really that well known. He was just kind of a guy who would take you down, beat you up. And then he was a guy that like a lot of like hardcore fans knew. He's like, okay, this guy's like, he's got a good background. Like he could be like a legitimate contender down the road. And he was just low key, just beating guys. He was just beating guys up. And I think also like you have to look at dominance as well. Like how many rounds has Khabib lost at 155 in his entire career? That you can.
And that's the thing. He's only lost like 2 rounds, right, out of his entire career. He hasn't lost a lot of rounds at all, right? Whereas GSP is debatable because there's a lot of rounds that he might have lost doing X, right? Anderson Silva was the GOAT for the longest time, right? But then look at him. He stuck around too long and he started to fall off. The next debate would be obviously a guy like John Jones, right? John Jones is amazingly skilled, right? He's had the title he's never lost the title. But I look at like his outside antics where he's been stripped of the title. He's never actually lost it, but he's had stripped of the title.
The issue with that, sorry, I'm interrupting again.
No, it's fine.
767th time that we've done this podcast.
Yeah. But it's just like with him, like I have a big problem declaring him the pound for pound, the GOAT with all his bullshit. Right, like that's and again, that's
the issue. So yeah, you have to look at it 2 ways. Now, do you separate all the shenanigans that John Jones has gotten himself into over the years? Do you take that out of the equation? Now, if you're just looking at what he's done inside the octagon, this is probably an unpopular opinion right now, but yeah, I think he's may have accomplished more in Khabib overall. Send your hate mail to Embriers Fit on Instagram. But how many title defenses has he had? He's had 13. How many losses has he had? He's had 1 no contest, and that like 10 years ago to like Matt Hamill. But other than that, like he's had now. With that said, now there's been a lot of fights he's had over the years. Like the first one he's had with Gustafsson, that was really close. One recently with Dominic Hayes that was really close as well. So he's won some decisions in there, but guess what? Like he's won the title. He's defended it like 13 times. So now like what's the
15 times.
15 times, sorry.
Yeah, it's 50. So it's 15 title defenses, right? And so like that's why he was going on a rant yesterday on Twitter, right? Yeah. But I'm like, bro, I'm not debating the numbers with you. I'm debating like the aspects of a champion, right? Like that's the thing, right? Like who are you outside of the cage? Because you have to be that.
Oh, now we're getting into the whole martial artist thing of it.
No, not even the martial artist thing, right? Like
or character, like I'll be honest, like yeah, John Jones has done some very questionable things. He's made some very questionable decisions in his past. And he's done some pretty messed up shit. But with that said, what he's done inside the octagon, I think is like all-time great stuff. I'm not going to sit on here and defend his character. No, like I think he's a fucking scumbag, honestly. But what he's done inside is what I'm doing my best to separate the two. But if we're just looking at what he's done inside the cage versus what Khabib has done inside, I think John Jones has been around longer in like the top spot position and has had more title fights and has won more title fights. I think Khabib would have cemented it if he didn't retire, because like he's still fairly young. He easily could like you're seeing people fight into their late 30s. He can easily fight another 5 years at least, and he hasn't really taken a lot of damage. Like I don't think he hasn't really been hurt ever, but maybe once ever, like where he's actually been like hit and cracked in a fight. Out of 29 fights, that's pretty impressive. For you've been in 25 professional fights and you haven't really been hit. That's extremely impressive. Yeah. With that said, I think if you're looking at it, if you're just looking at inside what they've done, John Jones has been on top longer. Now, if you're looking at character outside the cage, you're factoring that in, then like it's no question.
Yeah, and again, you have to separate the two. It depends on, and that's where the argument is. And I think that's where people are having the biggest problem, where they're trying to separate the individuals, and it's also, I think they're looking at like, okay, how has he controlled the division for X amount of time, right? Where if you look at John Jones' last 2 fights, right? They're kind of like squeaking by, right? Like the 5-round decisions, the last one with Dominic, yeah, it's kind of questionable, right? They say, oh, the judges gifted him that one, right? Whereas Khabib has been 3 finishes, right? In those last 3 title fights.
Against top tier competition as well. He's
Connor, Dustin, submitted all 3 of them, right? And again, so like, yeah, I mean, but again, John Jones was doing that when he was younger too, and he was lighting the division on fire. But it's like, it was hard. It was easier for these guys back like 5-10 years ago to get that title shot and then stay on top than it is. There's so many more fighters nowadays. And again, especially in a COVID world, like how are they going to be spacing fights out and all that kind of jazz and getting these guys enough fights to get ranked properly and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting because they have a little bit of a harder road nowadays, I think, now than they did before, just on a ranking system, right? Not saying like the competition itself is different, right? That's a whole other topic, but
I think you also brought up something as well, is I think the depth of talent, I would say, has gone up a lot at like smaller weight classes, because there's not a lot of people are walking around like 6'4", 220, 25 pounds and cutting the light heavyweight, versus a lot of people are 5'10", 180 doing MMA and they're cutting to 155. So there's a lot more. I think there's a lot more. The talent pool at lightweight is a lot deeper, I think, right now at least. Because like, look at all the fighters at like 155: Gaethje, McGregor, Poirier, Khabib until he retired, and then Ferguson. Like, you just keep going, like just rattling off names like left and right. Like Anthony Pettis was really good for a while, and so like there's tons of talent at 155, and like to show like Khabib, like his last 3 fights has basically finished the who's who in 155 pound division and then gone out on top is extremely impressive. Is he a number 1 all-time great? It's hard to debate. And we haven't even brought up GSP either. They're like,
exactly, right?
We haven't even talked about him like too much either. Like, I would say like that's another person I think I could easily be number 1 pound for pound all time either, because like he's somebody he didn't lose a lot of rounds either. Like he's lost fights, but he's also, as you said, he's avenged them, and then on top of that, he's been in the times that he's won he may have won a 5-round decision here and there, but like those are dominant shutout wins that he's done.
Exactly. So especially for now, you look at, let's just take like the 155 division now, right? Because I think that's probably like one of the most exciting divisions right now. Who do you think's kind of the next person? Do you think it's like Gaethje? Do you think Ferguson makes a comeback? Do you think it's more of a Conor McGregor makes a comeback, or him and Dustin are set up to fight, or somebody new?
Well, that could be a title fight now. You never know.
Yeah.
So that could be a title fight, and then Gaethje can have another fight, and then he can be facing the winner of that. So
let me ask you this, right? Because obviously, like, I understand there's the business side. So like Dana White will go, okay, we're gonna make this fight and do X, and okay, this fight's for the title. But when you got a guy like, so 3 guys who basically all lost to Khabib, right? Yeah. And so say if you're gonna make Dustin and Conor McGregor. Okay, that's the new lightweight championship title fight. Like, I don't know how you can like honestly say that's the title fight. This is for the title. I think you almost have to do like you do Gaethje versus Ferguson again, and then Dustin and Connor, and have those two fight. And then that's your little mini tournament. Like, that's my opinion, but I don't know.
The UFC doesn't really do tournaments. They'll just be like, they'll look at the rankings. They're going to look at who draws. Conor McGregor's a draw, whether you like him or not. He's gonna make the UFC money if he decides that he's taking that fight, and it's going to be a high drawing fight. It's a business.
I think that's going to be the next title fight.
It is going to be the next. I think it will, and you know what? At the end of the day, it's a business. So like, you can do a tournament, or you can do these are the two guys. These are the top two guys, and then like, you know, Dana White will hype it up and try to sell it and make some money.
Yeah. I think that's your next title fight, and then they'll have Gaethje or Ferguson rematch, and then or one of them will say, okay, I want to go. Well, no, they got Chandler in there now. So yep. Ferguson and Michael Chandler
from Bellator, so that would be an interesting add to the mix as well. So he could shake things up. So like, he could be like in an elimination fight, and then he could be like getting a number one contender title shot. Like it's the fight that's going to sell. Like, you can have not necessarily the champion's going to fight the number one contender. They could be fighting the number 5 contender. If that's going to make more money, that's what's going to sell. This is pretty much WWE, except it's not worked at this point. Exactly. It's what are the fights? What are the matches that are going to make the most money? That's what it's going to come down to.
I think Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje would be fucking awesome.
I think that could be his next fight.
That could be a great fight.
That could face the winner of Poirier and McGregor, and that could probably be a title fight.
Yeah,
or
that'd be
like,
good.
That's your tournament or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so fitness industry. How screwed are we? What do you think?
On a scale of 1 to 10, we're about a negative 35 right now. If you own an F45, you're maybe about a minus 78 on a scale of 1 to 10. You're pretty screwed. You're probably not open. Like, so I don't think a gym is going to be open. I'm going to make an official prediction. I don't think gyms are opening again until at least next year. At least. So when things close, there was, hey, we're going to close things down for 14 days. We're going to flatten the curve. That turned into about 5 months for gyms to open up again. And based on them closing for 28 days, they're going to be closed again for a few months. Now, when we're talking like fitness industry, we're talking like, you know, big box gyms.
Yeah, we're talking big box.
Good Life, LA Fitnesses, like places like that. Places that have their business model is based on having a high amount of volume and selling gym memberships to people to go work out there. That model is not going to work in this environment because you can't have the same amount of traffic in a gym just based on the restrictions of what's going on.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, where it's that big box model is where revenue is based on a dues end, like that's the big thing, and it's about congregating people together. That's what they're trying to avoid. And unfortunately, fitness facilities are just kind of wrapped in that whole bureaucracy of like, oh, well, this is the one that will do it. We need to eliminate this. I think smaller boutique style clubs might have an opportunity to open up sooner than later.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It all depends based on, because they'll be able to control flow, customers, membership base. I think they're going to have a better relationship with those memberships as well, to be like, these are the rules, this is what you're allowed to do, that's it, right? Whereas like we've said all the time, where it's like martial arts studios or dance studios, they can kind of create cohorts, for example, whereas like, okay, this group starts training on Mondays from 8 to 9, and then group B comes in on Tuesday, group C comes in on this day. And those are your cohorts, and that way they can control the flow, and they know exactly how to contact trace and all that kind of stuff.
This is what this is what the OJ has been kind of doing, where like they have hey, like this is our plan, like we're gonna train in a pod, or like you're gonna train with these group of people and that's it, and you're only gonna stick to this group of people. Essentially, or it's if it's been rolled back into stage 2, maybe you have to go back and do like solo drilling again or dummy drilling, which I understand sucks. Well, let's just say it's not for me.
It is.
It is what it is. I get why you have to do it, because I mean, like, am I going to drill with a dummy? No. This is why I have Aaron to beat up, for example.
Whatever. I will kick your ass on a Zoom. No problem. We'll do a Zoom match. So how we'll do it, we'll do a Zoom match where it's like it's like move for move.
Okay, so let's do that right now then. So we slap hands.
How we do it.
We bump. I got a cross collar grip. I cross collar drag you. You go face first into the ground. You're unconscious. Boom. Match.
But you're talking, so like it's my go move, right? Like,
well, you gotta react. It's just like when we're rolling. You gotta react, baby. Like you can't just sit back and be like, oh well, I'm gonna do this move and then you're gonna do that move. No, man. Yeah, I just asserted dominance. That's what happens. You gotta pay attention. You can't let me get that grip.
All right. What we'll have to do is we gotta figure out how we have a Zoom jiu-jitsu match. I'm sure there's a way we can do it.
I don't think there is, Aaron. I don't think there is.
But no, we'll figure it out.
But like back to like the fitness industry, because me and you have been in it for a while. Like I've worked in bigger facilities probably since like 2013, so I've seen the ins and outs of a lot of like I guess the big box gym industry that you could say for about like 7 years now, off and on. And primarily if you're going to like a Good Life or an LA Fitness or, a gym that is big and is trying to attract a lot of people in, essentially their business model is we're going to sell you a membership. We're going to hope that you don't come. So that way we can keep billing you. And we're gonna make our money that way. And then of course, like if you're looking at it from like a sales standpoint, there's like an upsell. So it's like there's like personal training, there's like group classes.
Oh, it's your ancillaries and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's all your ancillary services that you have. Like if your gym has a pool, there could be like swimming lessons and et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole bunch of things that things can, or there's varieties of activities that people can do. Primarily now that model doesn't work in this environment because, well, if there's a restriction saying you're only allowed 10 people in this building, unless you have some sort of exemption that allows you to have 500 people in this building, like a Costco, that's a whole other conversation in itself that like, you're allowed 10 people in your business, but you can go to Walmart and there's like 500 people shopping. I mean, I get it. Like the size of, like Walmarts are usually big and such, but I think there's other ways of doing that, but I think it's a thing that a conversation that we've had a bunch of times on here already.
Yeah, like, and I don't want to go much further into it, but I think it's the argument is obviously if places have the space and all that kind of stuff, and they're able, well, we have the space, we can do X, we can do that, and I think that's great, right? When it comes, and again, I think some businesses have been not unfairly treated. They're not picking on businesses. I think it's just like, they'll feel like they're picked on, but I think they have to look at it. They have to look at it at all the angles, right? But the one thing I think is clear, some places refuse to control flow, right? They're like, no, we want to have that open concept feel. We don't want to make people feel restricted. I don't think that's going to be able to survive.
I don't think that's going to fly in this environment at this point.
Exactly. Like unless there's an actual viable rapid testing, or if they're going to have major treatment or government restrictions, we can't even have 10 people at home, let alone do other things, right? Until they figure that out, and until businesses say, okay, we can adapt to those models, they're not going to be able to open the way they want to. So, and that's the unfortunate thing. I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. That's just the reality, plain and simple.
That's pretty much it. I think there's I think a lot of people are more in general annoyed with, and I'll give you an example. So like, let's say if a gym or like a small boutique studio gets rolled back into stage 2, I think a lot of people are annoyed with the fact that, like, let's say the gym industry itself, I have a 1,000 square foot facility that I just train one-on-one personal training clients out of. And I see the same maybe 10 to 15 people, Monday to Sunday, like throughout the week. I'm not the same facility as a Good Life or an LA Fitness. And I think that's the part of it that's not fair. It's, that one person who's, putting their livelihood into, running their business, and it's completely out of their control, and there's nothing that they can do to stay open. But at the same time, like, they're not the same facility as, these bigger gyms. Like, this may be an unpopular opinion right now, and I'm in the gym and fitness industry, and I'm probably biased when I say this, but I think a lot of those bigger gyms, maybe they shouldn't be open right now, or they should at least, I know, like, there's certain places that have caps on how many people are going in and out. I don't think you should be able to have like open concept free for all, like, in a gym right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, I don't know, it's a hot button topic, obviously, but the whole idea of the mask, right? Where it's like, I think reality.
Put it on, or you're going to get microchipped by Bill Gates, Aaron, and you're going to kill your grandma.
I think the mask is going to be a big thing. That's not like Glenn was saying last time we were on, right? Like, that's not going away. That's going to be around for a couple of years, right? And I think people need to get on board. And again, it's not. I hate to use the word compliance, but that's what it is, right?
You need to obey, Aaron. You need to obey. I think this is the issue. It's people. It boils down to this. People don't like being told what to do, or what to think, or what to say, or how to act in an environment. That is why people are pushing back. Now, I think overall, I think sometimes the message being delivered is a little bit, well, like, the overall message has overall good intentions, but sometimes there's things that the way it's applied is sometimes a little silly. I'll give you an example. When I think mask usage is good. Now, when you're telling me to wear a mask while engaging in adult activities with your significant other, might be a little ridiculous.
What the fuck?
Listen to me, Aaron. If I'm going to lay pipe, I'm going to lay pipe.
I've been doing it wrong.
What? I should have been wearing this the whole time?
Oh, wearing a mask the whole time?
I was wearing it down there. What do you mean? But like when you get a message like that, and people listen to that and they're like, why am I going to do this? This is stupid. Like, which, you know what? Like, I may agree with it. And when it's sometimes it's not the rule itself, it's how it's applied. And sometimes that's what the overall message gets lost. So a lot of people will go, oh, well, they're telling us to do this while we're, engaging in adult activities. Like, how stupid is this, eh? What's this about?
Well, I think it comes down to the message, right? It's all about the messenger and how it's delivered and all that kind of jazz. And if somebody delivers a nonsense, like, again, they sound like it. The message is kind of nonsense. They don't sound articulate enough to what that message should be. People are just going to automatically fight back on it, no matter what, right? Like, if you have an articulated message that makes sense, somebody delivers that message very good with, again, like, not everybody has to agree with it, but it was delivered the right way with the right intent, with the right mood. Things might be different, right? So
I agree. Sometimes it's not the message, it's how it's delivered. And I think sometimes there's been a very poor job of how that message has been delivered in certain situations.
So, oh well. But I think the one thing we should always look at is, like, okay, looking ahead, how do you get better? All that kind of jazz. I think, especially coming out of this whole thing, I think businesses will be smarter moving forward. I think you're going to look at like martial arts studios will become stronger down the road. I don't think it's going to, again, it's going to take a while for things to come back, but there'll be new opportunities for newer businesses and opportunities. And unfortunately, because of either some places shutting down, that might have been a new opportunity for somebody else to open up a new club or something like that with a new concept. And I think that's the big thing, right? Is how do you innovate from here? And I think that's the big thing where people really need to start going, okay, like, hey, I can't start up a club right now, but when I do, how am I going to innovate to be ahead of the curve to the next stage, right? And not saying I am preparing for the next pandemic. How am I going to make my club or my program so well innovative and so well resourceful that I'm going to be the next whatever Gringo, or I'm going to be the next Keenan, or I'm going to be the next Henzo Gracie's Academy. Like, how that's the thing I think where everybody needs to really kind of like put the thinking hats on right now. How do you make this opportunity? Again, it's an opportunity. I don't look at it as like a negative. It's an opportunity for everybody to get innovative and figure it out.
I think the big thing, another thing is, I see there's a lot of people like complaining on Facebook. They're like, oh, like their livelihood's getting taken from, and I understand, because guess what? That's been happening to me this year. So I'm in the same boat, but
join the club, my friend.
Join the club. So you can look at it like this. You can go on Facebook, you can rant and rave about the situation, or my mindset's been, how do I adapt to the situation? What can I offer in the situation that can be a positive influence going forward? Am I gonna? Do you see me bitching and complaining on Facebook? I'm barely on Facebook as it is. Like, I just use Facebook Messenger for the most part to message you for like Zoom links to getting on here. But like, for the most part, like, it doesn't help to, just vent on Facebook. You may feel better and cathartic after, but what are you going to do down the line? Like, what are you going to plan? How are you going to, basically what you said, how are you going to innovate and adapt to the situation? Are you going to complain, or are you going to adapt and change?
No, and it's the perfect, again, it's saying that, right? Like, you and I are kind of in the same boat where it's like, obviously our livelihoods have changed a little bit, but okay, we're kind of looking at, okay, what are the next steps and things? Like, so obviously this is something that was creative, right? Just during this pandemic is something we could do and innovate from there. But then what are the next steps for it, right? And again, we're not going to share that on this episode, but there's a lot of different things.
Try to make $1.
No, stuff's coming, right? But it's not about making an actual revenue. It's about how do you get more footprint. But again, there's going to be bigger things coming through this podcast or other podcasts, or again down the road that we're going to develop, and we're trying to figure stuff out. But again, we're doing it day by day, and I think this was awesome where we have the time and availability, and we live in a good spot where we have the support from the government, unlike the US where they got one check and that was it.
Hold on. Else. We forgot a sponsor right now. We're also sponsored by Justin Trudeau and CERB.
Yes, exactly. So that would be another thing, right? So, but again, it's not like we're trying to make a positive message and again, it's all about being positive and finding the next steps and really building off this and building off from everything else.
That's it. Like, are you going to complain about the situation, or what are you going to do to create a positive change in this environment? I think going forward, like, what do you think fitness industry wise, martial arts industry wise, what changes do you see going into like 2021, 2022 and beyond?
I think, again, I'd be in a different payroll type situation if I knew all the answers, right? So I don't. I'm just speculating, right? I think, especially when this is my personal opinion, I do think the idea of a big box gym, like some places we know of, are not going to be as popular as they are or they used to be. Right. I think that's going to be a spot that people are not comfortable going to. So like the idea of the January 1st New Year's resolutioner, that idea is out the window. I don't think you're going to have that same type of crowd January 1st getting up and, okay, I'm going to go join my local Good Life, or I'm going to go join you're always going to have your diehard people and your early adapters that, okay, they're okay. They figured it out. They want to do X, right? Or your younger crowd, or the guys that just want to hang out and go to the gym and do X, Y, Z. That'll always, those people will always be there, right? But your general population, the people who don't have motivation and need those things, they are not going to be those people, right? I think when you look at it, I think the online options where and again, this is where even Peloton's kind of in an issue right now, because if you wanted to order a Peloton bike, you're going to wait 3-4 months before you get one, right? Because they're so behind. They never expected themselves to be so busy right now with the amount of bikes that they've been selling off, right? Where I think you're going to see smaller boutique clubs figure out how to create an atmosphere where people are more comfortable, they're able to sanitize differently, and they're able to create those little environments that'll strive, right? And especially like those in-home personal training services might start to see a rise a little bit, where people just don't want to leave their homes. They need that motivation, and they're going to figure out how to do it in their own homes, or they're going to have somebody bring equipment to them and do it from there, right?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be, you're going to go into these trends, right? You're going to do all these things and you're going to go up and down. But I think when you look at martial arts still, so like jiu-jitsu, whether it be karate or Muay Thai or all these things, those things they'll have their lulls, right? So they'll have their dips, but I think those things will never really disappear, because those are always individuals who are those they need it. They need something more, right? That's why they join these programs to begin with, right? They're finding these different spots, not in a big box gym. These are boutique swing clubs, right? And they're going to create these cultures and these individual cohorts. And it's up to the studios to really get creative and adapt. And how do we, we can't have rolling right now, or maybe later on the road, we'll be able to do rolling and doing it in cohorts or whatever, right? And just really sticking to their guns and like, hey, this is how we operate our business, and we have to stay within that model to be successful.
I think you're going to see a big paradigm shift between what I think there's always going to be a demand for fitness. It's just way
that'll never disappear.
The way the message is going to get delivered is going to be different. So like, Peloton's innovating bikes, technology, and all sorts of stuff. Like you mentioned them as like a company. They're going to be like probably the Apple of fitness down the road. So like a company like that. But you're also going to see, I think, online training or like virtual training is probably still going to be a trend even after this. I think in-home training is going to be like, we're just talking from a personal training standpoint. I think like in-home training, or even like going to like, people aren't going to be like, let's say, going to like Good Life or LA Fitness necessarily to look for a personal trainer. They may look at more smaller boutiques. So I think you're going to see a shift in a rotation more towards the smaller businesses, which I think is a good thing. I think in the long run, it'll give people an opportunity to kind of, like to build almost their brand, and not, their brand within like a bigger like gym or facility.
Yeah. I just look at it like remember the days of, you see like 75 people jammed into a yoga studio and another 75 people waiting outside that yoga studio, and then them all crossing into each other. Like those days are done. Those days are done right now. Like you won't see those days until there's a viable vaccine, or this disappears after November 3rd.
Microchip. It's a conspiracy.
But yeah, like, I mean, I'm again, like anything, I'm excited to see where the industry in general goes. Martial arts and like jiu-jitsu will never leave my life anyway, so I'm not worried about that. Like it's going to change, obviously, right now, or it's been changed since March, right? But I still think down the road it'll be eventually we'll be back to normal, but it's how do you look at it moving forward, right? Obviously, it's just you're gonna have to deal with it, and it's like under right now it's being in a bad spot, right? That's it. It's just keep your head above water, and bit by bit you'll start swimming.
Don't get choked.
That's it. That's all you can say.
And speaking of choked, if you want to get some protein, log on to CanadianProtein.com. Use promo code CHOKE. Get yourself 10% off. And get some gains during lockdown session round 2. Hopefully you got some equipment.
Yeah, well, I definitely got some equipment this time, so I'm making.
You sure did, Aaron. You sure did.
Who knows? I didn't get anything. I have no idea.
Did you go shopping before all the gyms closed?
I had some stuff from before too, and then I did a little shopping. So I'm doing pretty well.
All righty, that's excellent. I also did some shopping as well. Very
good, very good. Well, I think we'll leave it at that for today. I do want to thank everybody for joining us, but we did have upon a lot of topics today, but I do look forward. We have a bunch of really good guests coming up that are lined up. So we're excited for the next couple of weeks, but we're still here and we're still rolling and we're not stopping anytime soon.
We're still here, fam.
Oh yeah, but we still have, like I said, a lot of guests coming up, and we got a lot of new announcements that we will be posting on Instagram and the website that's up and running now. And then we're gonna start adding a lot more content, especially on there, a lot more media, a lot more technique stuff, a lot more training advice and articles. And I'm doing some reaching out to a bunch of people, so it's gonna be exciting next couple of weeks for sure.
Beautiful. So we have a lot of. We're doing a lot of work behind the scenes, maybe not necessarily, pumping out 3 or 4 podcasts a week, but we're working a lot right now on the back end. By we, I mean Aaron. I'm kind of like I'm Ben Affleck and you're Matt Damon, and I'm kind of like crashing on your couch smoking pot as you're writing Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, it seems like it sometimes.
Well, put my name on that too.
Yeah, exactly. And I was talking to Kat on Kat, who is Michael's wife, who's also our graphic designer, about content that we're creating. And she, use Canva. I'm like, well, hey, I'm the visionary and you're the artist. So you tell that girl to get to work on.
You're a visionary. What are you like? Sounds like you're starting a cult. What are you, Jim Jones?
No, not at all. Hey, you know what? The funny thing about Jim Jones, though, they were pushing out a lot of different things as far as like fitness related. They had who was that over there? Fuck, what's his name? Jason McDonald. No, is it Jason McDonald? Maximus. Fuck, I don't know.
Bobby Maximus. Jason McDonald.
Yeah, Jason McDonald. Yeah. That guy was with Jim Jones for the longest time too. He's not with them anymore. He's doing his own thing now. But I think he said it was a cult. So that is wholly a very old content. But whatever.
You do know the actual story of Jim Jones, right?
No, I actually don't. What's the story of Jim Jones?
I'll give you the really don't. Oh my god. Okay, so basically, Cole's Notes started a cult. Where the people, saying drink the Kool-Aid. So you got everybody to drink like this poison Kool-Aid. It was like a mass suicide.
Oh, so it was an actual. So
yes, it was an actual cult. You dingbat.
Oh. Never mind.
I'll have to send you the Wikipedia page.
Is this a person or the gym?
No, it's a person. Jim.
There's a gym.
J-I-M. Yes.
We're talking the wrong person then. So
yes.
There was a gym, like J-Y-M.
Jim Jones, yes, I'm aware of that as well. Bobby Max, yes, I'm aware of that too.
That's what I'm talking about.
These are 2 entirely different situations. I was trying to
make
2
different people.
I was trying to make a cult joke and you fucking ruined it. And I can see your cat's tail in the background. Get that pussy out of here.
All right. Sorry. Well, all right, guys. Well,
this is going off the rails. We're going off the 401. We're going off the 401 here. We should have brought our transponder for the 407. I think it's time to wrap this up. Aaron, give us the final word.
All right, Michael, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us on the Choke Your Hazard podcast. We'll catch you guys shortly.